I've been part of mine rescues for 18 years, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that silence underground is worse than any explosion. An explosion is loud, chaotic, you can fight that. Silence means the earth has made its choice, and it usually means you're already too late. That silence was all I could think about as we stood at the mouth of level 6. We'd been brought in 3 days after the Morrison shaft collapse, when the first reports hit the news. For miners trapped below, but headlines never capture the smell of rock dust or the way the ground feels alive beneath your boots, pulsing slow like some buried heart. The access tunnel to level 6 was a throat choked with rubble. We'd been clawing through for 72 hours straight, drills screaming like angry bees, steel biting into stone while the earth groaned like it didn't want to give them back. Every time the rock shifted above us, every time the timbers cracked, someone would mutter a prayer. We worked by harsh lamps that made everything look sick and yellow. Meals came cold in dented trays, and coffee tasted like copper. At some point, I forgot what day it was. Only the rhythm mattered. Drill, brace, haul, breathe, and hope the next tremor didn't bring the mountain down on top of us. And then, on the 4th day, we broke through. I was the second man through the gap, belly crawling into the void on raw elbows. The beam from my helmet cut across a cavern so wide the darkness seemed to swallow it. At first, I thought the air was fog, but it wasn't fog. It was heavy, thick, like the whole space was swollen with breath that didn't belong to us. The smell hit next, iron rot and something faintly sweet like fruit left too long in the sun. My stomach nodded. Jesus, Davison muttered behind me. His voice sounded wrong, small, like the rock was chewing on it. We called names. Murphy, Briggs, Klein, Bishop. The sound didn't echo. It just fell like dropping stones into a well too deep to hear the splash. Then my light found him. Harlan Bishop, sitting all the way at the back of the cavern, away from the lamp's weed set, hunched in the farthest corner like he was hiding from the shadows themselves. His helmet was gone, his hair slicked to his skull with sweat, his hands black to the wrists like he'd been clawing at the dirt for days. And he was rocking, slow, back and forth, lips moving too fast to follow, no sound coming out. Something inside me said, don't touch him. Just leave him there. But my body didn't listen. I crossed the floor, boots crunching on gravel that felt like it didn't want me there, and laid a hand on his shoulder. He flinched so hard it almost threw me backward. Then those eyes snapped open. I've seen men burn alive, seen skulls split open in cave-ins, seen things I don't talk about after dark. But I swear to God, I've never seen eyes like Harlan's. They weren't wild. They weren't pleading. They were empty, like something had crawled inside and hollowed him out. We searched the cavern. No blood, no tools, no bodies, just footprints. Hundreds of them, cut deep in the dust, not leading to exits or passages, not forming trails, just circles, spirals, loops etched into the ground like someone had been running patterns for hours, days maybe, until their minds snapped. One set of tracks stopped at the far wall, just ended like the man had stepped into nothing. We got Harlan out. He didn't fight, didn't cry, just kept muttering that same phrase under his breath the whole way up the shaft. Don't listen to the quiet. Over and over, like a stuck record. 2 days later, they assigned me to watch him in the infirmary. Keep him fed, keep the 4 in, keep him from wandering off. He didn't speak for hours, just stared at the wall like it was whispering secrets. Then, slowly, he turned those hollow eyes on me and said, voice cracked like dry wood, This ain't gonna sound right. But you asked where they went, and I gotta tell someone. Gotta get out. I told him to start at the beginning. He waited a long time before he spoke again. I thought maybe he'd fallen asleep sitting up, eyes half shut, skin gray as chalk. But then his lips twitched, and the words came out slow like pulling teeth. It didn't start right away, he said, voice splintering. First day, we thought we'd make it. Briggs said the radios would come back once they reset the boosters. Murphy swore he heard tapping like you boys were coming. We even joked about the beer waiting for us. He stopped rocking for the first time since I'd seen him. His eyes drifted to the corner of the room, like the corner of that cavern was still following him. Then the lights started flickering, he whispered. Not all at once, just one at a time, like it was playing. Klein's lamp would go out for a second. Then Murphy's. Then mine. We'd slam him, curse him, they'd come back. Thought it was the batteries. It wasn't. His fingers began to twitch in his lap, curling and uncurling. Second night, oxygen alarms quit. Not dead, just gone. Little green light stayed on, but no sound. That's when the quiet got heavy. He swallowed hard, like it wasn't just the air pressing on us, like it was listening. I felt something crawl up my spine, then, sitting in that clean white room with daylight outside, like the weight of that silence had seeped out of him and into me. What happened next? I asked, even though I already didn't want to know. He looked right at me then, really looked, and I swear for a second, it wasn't just Harlan staring. Something else was sitting behind those eyes, something smiling without a mouth. The voices, he said, came soft at first, just little things you think you imagined. A laugh, a hum. Briggs heard his wife call his name. Murphy swore his little girl was crying down one of the side shafts. His breath rattled. Then Klein said he heard his old man whistling. Thing is, Klein's old man's been dead 15 years. I didn't say anything. Just let him keep going because I could feel if I opened my mouth, something would come out that wasn't mine. They split after that, Harlan said, voice fraying like wire. Told him not to. Begged him, but they went, chasing what they thought was real. Thought maybe it was a rescue party. Or maybe they didn't care. Maybe it made him want to go. He pressed his palms over his ears, hard, until his knuckles went white. I stayed put. Sat on a rock and shut my eyes. Thought if I didn't move, if I didn't listen, it'd leave me alone. But it didn't. It wanted to play. He dropped his hands then, and they were shaking like leaves in a storm. It started scratching, he whispered, on the walls. Little at first, then deeper. Long, slow, like it wanted me to hear. I opened my eyes, and he cut off, sucking air like a drowning man. It wasn't letters, just marks. Slashes all down the stone. They kept multiplying. Every time I closed my eyes, there were more. Some were still wet, dripping. I wanted to ask what they were dripping with. I didn't. Harlan leaned forward so close I could smell the rot on his breath. I never saw it, not once, but I felt it, moving behind me, breathing, slow, like the rocks themselves were sucking air. Sometimes it'd pass, so close I swear the hairs on my neck would lift. His voice broke then, crumbling into something that barely sounded human. And then it started whispering. What did it say? I asked before I could stop myself. His face twisted like the question hurt. And then he whispered, so soft I had to lean in. Stay. One word, over and over, curling through the dark like smoke. Stay, stay, stay. By the time he finished, tears were cutting pale streaks down his dirt-stained face. He didn't say another word, just turned back to the corner and started rocking again. I told the others what he said, but they wrote it off as shock. Hallucinations from bad air. You tell yourself things like that because it's easier than believing the truth. But I went back down there a week later. Retrieval detail. We had to get their gear, log what was left. The cavern was colder than before, like something had sucked all the warmth out of the stone. The marks were there, hundreds of them, slashed into the walls like broken ribs. And in the farthest corner, where we'd found Harlan rocking, someone had scratched a single word. Welcome. I've been in this line of work for 20 years. Seen shafts flood, ceilings drop, whole teams buried alive. But that mine isn't empty. It's waiting. And at night, when the house goes quiet, sometimes I swear I hear it too. The whisper, curling through the dark, telling me to stay.